Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another installment of Poke Fodder. Today, I take a break from running my normal deck to put together this poison deck because it is the Grass Gym Cup, but poison types supposedly counter the grass, and so we're going to get plus 20 damage with our poison types. And let me just tell you, this gym is very, very difficult. I don't know if you could see my ranking. It'll be up here in just a second. I was trying diligently to not only win, but win with a non-OP deck. And here we go. Right off the bat, we're going to go up against the Deoxys team. Mind you, I don't have tropical energy plate. There's not a way for me to keep them from respinning. I don't have dark energy to keep them from switching. But honestly, this is probably the best matchup that I could have hoped for, because the Deoxys deck minus the 2-speed Deoxys is not the fastest moving deck that you can come across, and the fact that they can't slide through all of my Pokemon is another added benefit. He opens with the standard play here. I do have 2 Crobats for some mobility, 2 Tentacools, which evolve into Tentacools, the Weezing, and the Venusaur. And with this deck, my whole goal is to poison early and poison often. That's the whole thing. Venusaur is going to he tries to do the swap spot cheese here. Don't fall for that. The whole purpose of this deck is to, once they're poisoned, Crobat's going to give them minus 20 on top of the minus 40 they already get, and Venusaur is going to limit their MP movement by 1. Ideally, what I want to do is get them so they're not as mobile and not as strong, and then start picking them off. And that's kind of how this deck is supposed to work. Earlier in the Gym Cup, I came up against a Tentacool deck, and it's just way too slow, which is the reason why I use 2 Crobats. You have to have some mobility or you're just going to get demolished in this. Right off the bat, he comes hopping out with his DOA, and unfortunately respins me into a favorable spin for him. It would have been nice to be able to capture his entry point there, but this is a Deoxys deck as normal. We get another positive, what should have been a positive spin here. He spins me out of it, but we do come through, re-roll the poison, and drop him. So now instead of doing the full 130, he's doing minus 40, which is 90. I think he's doing 90. I don't remember what sea level he had. Okay, so he doesn't have any sea levels. Bring Venusaur, so now he's a 1 MP Pokemon. And unfortunately, he spins out of being knocked back to the bench. Here is one small problem. If he goes back to the bench, the status effect of the poison gets removed. I don't know if he knew that or realized it, but it really wasn't going to hurt him a whole lot to go back to the bench there. And he decides that he wants to no longer take on my Weezing, and now he wants to attack Crobat. We get the great roll to begin with, and then unfortunately we get knocked out. But now, both of his heavy hitters are 1 MP Pokemon, and they're both poisoned. I don't remember exactly how much damage my Tentacools are doing at this point. It's, what is that? 90. I think they're doing over 100. But as you can see, I'm completely pinned in over here, which is not a position that I want to be in. And he still has 2 Pokemon on the bench. It's going to be a rough go at it here. I'm going to have to knock out some Pokemon. And that is a good start. So I believe I just... Oh, I back up here so he doesn't hurdle jump onto my entry point, thus closing off both of my entries. And I think, if I remember correctly, I believe I go ahead and knock him out here. Although it's not a true knockout, it just sends him back to the bench. And things are looking good so far. I've got his entry point. I've only lost one Pokemon. And he's going to attack my goal. Because Deoxys Speed can cap his goal at any point, he's not... My Weezing on his entry point is not even a threat. The respin, we get the miss. He was already poisoned, so that's of no benefit to us. And now I'm basically stuck here with relying on Tentacool to not get knocked out. And he's got a huge white portion. We do get the Poison Sting on the first one. Oh, and he's doing 111 damage because he knocked out my Crobat. So he was doing 91 before this. 92 doesn't cut it. And as you can see, I don't really have many options here. My best bet is to... I'm going to have to attack his Deoxys A. But Deoxys A, I can win it. But, and actually, I've already lost. Now that I'm looking at this again, even if I knock out his Deoxys A, the Phantump was going to move into the goal. So I go ahead and forfeit there. And even when I felt like I was getting positive spins, I couldn't do anything. And just to add to my misery here, I get a Voltorb. Not deterred though. So I'm going to fire this back up. And honestly, I really think that the Deoxys was... It was unfortunate, but as far as his mobility, he didn't have just a whole lot of mobility. He definitely wasn't hopping over and through and around everything and capping both my entry points in 2 turns. It was just unfortunate that none of my Pokemon on my goal could hold up to the respins, which is what the problem was with Deoxys A in the beginning anyways. We go back in, and if you'll notice my ranking, I mean, I can't even see it, but I'm well down into the 1800s here. Several losses. And I think I might have beaten Bugbot before jumping into today's video. Again, we're going to go up against... this is kind of a normal deck. I mean, he's got Leafeon and Grovyle and Venusaur, but other than that, nothing, not any of the OP decks that just walk all over this gym right now. He brings out Grovyle, and I don't really know what I want to do here. He can respin into, I think, 120, if I remember correctly. I'm just going to go ahead and give up my entry point and go for capping my goal. And I don't think he takes it. I want to say he maybe brings out... No, he does take the entry point, which is the play to make. But because Grovyle can't hop over my Venusaur like Phantump would or Virizion, I don't have to go immediately cover up my goal. I take Weezing out. With Weezing, if you don't know, when he blows up, and I say he blows up, but when he blows up, he affects all Pokemon within a 2 MP movement of him with poison. my goal is to get him as far away from my side of the board as possible. The last thing I want to do is have him hanging out near my entry point, have Zapdos come knock him silly, and half my team is poisoned. I could run the Tropical Energy Plate here to help with some of the respins. For a cure-all, but it's not going to cure my two water types if that happens. So he went and dropped the Thunder Charge onto Wheezing, and my Tropical Energy Plate's not going to help with Wheezing either. You start using Tropical Energy, and you realize how great of a plate it really is. I was trying to poison him there. That would have been nice. Obviously, that's really all Wheezing is used for. And if you can't get him deep into the opponent's territory, he's a huge liability. Simply because he's going to die. It's inevitable. And when he does, now my Pokemon are inflicted with Noxious. And I'm losing movement on them because I have Venusaur on the field. I don't know if I really like running Wheezing with a poison deck. At least not with Venusaur. The possibility of doing as much harm to your team as you do to their team seems too high to me. I don't know that the risk reward the takeaway is really good there. I just go ahead. I don't even know what my plays are here anymore. Crobat does no damage, so I can't take out Mew. Crobat's just pretty weak overall. And that's the problem is, yeah, you have a 3 MP Pokemon, but he's so weak, and the whole purpose of him is to go out and die. And I think that's the main issue with this poison deck, is half of my team is out there to go die. But the Tentacles feed off of them being on the field for the added power boost. And so you're really caught in a catch-22 here as far as I want them on the field so my Pokemon are stronger, but I want them to die and battle because it makes my opponent weaker. I don't know. Maybe the synergy just isn't great on this deck. The mobility is not great. Crobat is nice with his shuttle flip. It's the same blue move that Mew has. And I get he doesn't have the killing power. At the end of the day, he does have a 60 and 240s. But you don't really send Mew out to get kills either. He's out there more for positioning, to utilize his gold to kill heavy purple teams. And then the blue shuttle flip is an added bonus for added mobility. And Crobat is a less version of that. Like I said, he even hits his big attack, and it just wasn't enough, even before he got poisoned. And at this point, I'm just kind of fending for my life. I have to get my entry point back open. That is definitely not the spin we want, ×2. And I was trying to take advantage of the fact that Zapdos was poisoned there. You saw his 102 was dropped down to what I think it was 82. Just even with the double chance, couldn't land my wide attack, and I'm stuck defending the goal with a poisoned Tentacool and a Venusaur versus his 6 Pokemon. Probably not going to win many of those. And then Venusaur drops the nice fat miss. And that is going to be GG for the blue team. I don't necessarily know that I made. And then here I don't. Like, okay. I think I just forfeit. Yeah. I don't know that I really made any horrendous plays. But if you can't knock out their Pokemon, it makes it really hard to dig out of a hole. And it's kind of what I'm learning about the poison deck. And even when I ran the poison deck in league play before the Gym Cup came along, that was my takeaway then as well, is I don't know how to make it synergize well. Because you have too many pieces that you need to get knocked out, and it just doesn't work well when you need those Pokemon still on the field to help your attackers. And in theory, it makes great sense. Rush forward, poison the opponent on their side of the field. Your Pokemon go back to the PC. Then you bring out your stronger Pokemon who can take advantage of the less capable attacks. But in practice, I could, so far I'm 0-2 making it work. And I'm probably a lot more than 0-2. Just 0-2 on this video for sure. So in our third, and this is going to be the final matchup because it does cost so much to run a game. Again, just going to open with Crobat. Going up against Shuppet, Deoxys Speed, Mew. I can't tell. I think that's Sceptile. Chestnut's early evolution. And then Ivysaur. So he tries to jump out and attack quick, which is what you want to do on any decks where damage stacks. Unfortunately, I did have the chain level, and that spelt bad news for him. But his passive was, it gave me a weight 1, which is really unfortunate. I would have loved to have been able to go and take his inner left corner on that turn there. Unfortunately, it just wasn't an option. Again, I like those Pokemon that leave some kind of an effect if you knock them out. And by me not being able to move up, he kept his side of the board clean and didn't allow me to run down. I could have run my other Crobat a little further up the lane, I guess. Again, just my whole goal here really is get Wheezing all the way up. I was checking to make sure he didn't have long throw. It would have been really dumb of me to jump into the corner and then get long throw surround killed. I've done that more than once, quite honestly. I'm actually almost a minute up on time, and that never happens. But I wasn't recording live. I wasn't voicing the match live as we went. I was actually just kind of playing, and now I'm going back over and voicing over the game. So maybe that's why time was such on my favor. Totally fell asleep there. Here I was so cautious as to not get the long throw plate used against me, and then I let Shuppet have the easy kill. Pretty bad move on my part. Honestly, the Gem Cup moves so fast that I think this is the first time maybe that I ran into the Shuppet trap. I don't even know that I've seen the Shuppet trap being utilized with any of the Virizion or Phantoms. It'd still be viable, but I guess when those Pokemon can just fly through everything, it makes it a little more difficult to get everything set up. I believe he brings out Speed Deoxys to set up the other corner trap. And now I don't have any of the legendary birds. I don't have Virizion. I don't have Genesect, so I can't move my Pokemon in between his Pokemon and mine on the inner lanes there. Really unfortunate that I landed purple twice there. And I went for the double chance so that I wouldn't get surrounded, thinking I would get the knockout there. Obviously, that did not happen. And we continue to roll the poison, which typically I'd be okay with, except I'm not. At this point, quite honestly, I don't have any options. I have just got to start going in and trying to brute force my way through. And obviously you can see it didn't work out there. I was on tilt, quite honestly. Probably not thinking super clear by now. Just felt completely hand-tied. And one thing I've learned is, not just me, but people in general, if they get a couple bad spins, or if you notice they keep attacking the same Pokemon over and over and over, and you roll dodge, or they roll dodge, it starts to mess with their mind, and you can exploit that kind of behavior, because eventually they'll get mad and go on tilt and just try to brute force knock everything out. As you can see, Shuppet takes out my Venusaur. At this point, I know the game is over. It's academic, and I'm, again, another miss. And there's nothing. I've just gotten to a point where I'm like, I don't even care anymore. I know I'm not going to win, and that's a really bad mindset to have. You lose your ability to see different plays that might be open to you on the board, and then you just start thinking, I'm going to knock everything out. And as you can see, you roll 2 misses, and then your game is for sure over. I drop all the way down into the 1700s. I don't recommend running a poison deck. It wasn't very useful for me, but I wanted to try it for you guys. So that's going to do it for today, and until next time.